Going on, people? What's going on? Welcome to United View. Welcome to your latest dose of Man United news. We've got a lot to get into. Actually, there's so much news coming out today. You got to unpick it, like Owen says. It's like sieving for gold, and sometimes you got to get little pieces. You got to keep digging, and then sometimes with what you hear, the truth is somewhere in the middle. You got to make your own minds up. So we've got a lot to get through in today's show. Nice meaty show. We're going to talk about Rashford staying. Potentially, it looks like that's what's going to happen. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? But I think with some of the things we've seen today and just in general, in my opinion, I think he'll be staying at the football club. Talks about Mitchell coming in, Paul Mitchell on his way. We're going to talk about what that means, talk about what sort of guy he is. Is that a good move for the club? A lot of people having their say on that. We're going to talk about Paul Pogba. We're going to talk about incomings. We're going to talk about some Eric Ten Hag stuff as well. So much to get into. So smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. Big up the community. First of all, actually, I do want to say, obviously, big up to Cam, big up to Marcel coming through, and Owen as always. But big up to everyone who enjoyed yesterday's stream. Like the response was absolutely insane. I thought it was such an eye-opening show. It was really enjoyable, and big up to the guys at We Talk Ajax as well. So make sure you go check out
100%.
Their channel. It was so good, wasn't it? I left there with so much food for thought, thinking, do you know what?
Literally, I messaged Flex after the show and just went like it's one of those ones which even when you're doing it, you're like, man, I just need to stand back and not say anything, because just listening to them talk was just fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And I think sometimes us as United fans, like, and this isn't a knock to KG, but like sometimes we can just see highlights on social media and
it's definitely a knock to KG. It's you're knocking KG.
Well,
you are.
If I was going to knock KG, I would say, we can have, certain bold people watching compilations. I'm not going to say that. I would never say that. So I would never say anything like that. And I didn't say it. So don't worry about it. But no, we can see Champions League games and stuff like that and go, oh, Eric Ten Hag. But when you've got people that watch Ajax play every single week and know every single player, that's more information than we could ever give.
100%. I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That's the beauty of it. We can all watch compilations or watch them in the Champions League or tune into a cup final or whatever one-off. But the true measure is, people who watch them game in, game out for their whole lives. David Lee says, big up Flex, Owen, Marcel and Cam. Got Fuad Farah, big up Flex from Toronto, Canada. I love this channel. Big up the man there. Marcel will give us his knowledge tonight, says Merck in one videos. And then Papa J says, Marcel's going to bring his De Gea agenda, LOL, because we are going to talk about De Gea potential new contract as well. There's so much to do. Everyone's going into the comments as well, so big up, man. Let's get started, man. Cam, I'll start with you. There's a lot of reports today, right at the beginning of the day. Samuel Luckhurst had reported that Marcus Rashford accepts that he's not an integral part of Ralph Rangnick's plans. Sources close to Rashford say he's continuing to train hard and professionally. He also goes on to say Marcus Rashford will seek greater clarity on his role at Man United when Ten Hag takes over. He is now looking forward to embarking on a new chapter with Ten Hag. And he also says that Marcus Rashford is understood to be looking forward to working with Ten Hag. So all the noises from a very reputable, close to the club source, suggesting that Rashford just wants to put the season behind him. He knows he's not part of Rangnick's plan, but he's looking forward to staying with the new challenge with Ten Hag. What's your thoughts on that? And in the community, everyone get involved as well. Rashford's future.
I think on Rashford, it's one of those where you can see he's got a mental block, and the season now for the club is done. We're not getting top four. So I think what I'd do at this point is, I think the stance from the club has to be, unless you get an offer of sort of 70 million plus, he's going to stay here. He's going to be here next year, and we want to get the best out of him next year. So with that in mind, the best thing you can really do is just send him away on holiday now. Forget the rest of the season, because it's not doing him any good at all being at the club. Ralph Rangnick comes out in pretty much every press conference. He says in training he's brilliant, keeps working really hard, putting in the performances, and he just can't deliver it on the weekends or when he goes out on the pitch. And if that's the case, I mean, what good is it doing him staying at the club? He's already training well. It's not like he's being a bad trainer and he's not professional. He's doing his absolute best, and it's just not coming off from him on the pitch. Mentally, there's a bit of a block there. What's causing that, I don't know, but the best thing for him is just a break, a complete reset, and let him come back for the start of pre-season hungry, completely refreshed and ready to start things with a different perspective. So for me, I think it's one of those where you just got to let the rest of the season go, let Jesse Lingard play or one of the young kids play, send Marcus Rashford away, and anyone else who's in the same situation mentally, let them completely recover, reset, and hope we can get something out of them next season.
Is he good enough, Cam, to recover from this? Like you spoke about his mentality there, like he's doing everything right, he's being professional, he's trying to apply himself. It just clearly isn't happening. But on a personal note, do you think he's good enough to kind of show a bit? Because some people, it seems like, have really given up on Rashford. There's a lot in the fan base. I don't know if you are one of those who think he will never hit the heights. But under Eric Ten Hag, a progressive coach, we heard from the likes of One and Papimento and Ajax yesterday about especially what One was saying, which resonated. He said, don't be surprised if you see players that you really thought were done or, start showing something under a new manager. Do you think Rashford falls into that category?
Potentially. I think at the moment what he's probably going through is like when anyone learns a new skill, to start with, you're at a particular base level and you don't really know what you've got to do to improve. Then you get to a point where someone tells you what you've got to do to improve, and actually you might go backwards a bit because you're trying so hard to put in practice what they're saying and it's affecting your decision making. Eventually it gets to a point where you don't even have to think about it. You can just do that, and that'll actually take in more information and get even better. I think Rashford's somewhere in the middle of that at the minute, and Ralph Rangnick's probably come in, told him you've got to start doing this differently to improve, and he's probably just trying too hard in the sense. He's thinking too much about what he's got to do. And when Rashford's at his best, he's instinctive. He's able to go past players. He's not thinking too much. So he's got to get through this. He's got to get enough practice in of what he's doing to the point where he doesn't have to think about it as much and he can just play it on his instinct a bit more with the new skill that he's learned. So I think, with a new manager that hopefully makes some parts of his role a little bit more automatic in the way that, let's say, Guardiola's done with Sterling, where Sterling, for a lot of his game, doesn't really have to think. He gets told to do specific things, and once he'd learned it, he's doing it every game, nice and easy, and he's scoring so many goals every season. Possibly we could see the same with Rashford. I don't think he's ever going to hit the heights of, a prime Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United. That's not going to happen. Rashford's not that level. He's nowhere near. But he can still be a decent enough player, score plenty of goals for us. So, I think we'll see more of him under Ten Hag, but what we've got to do is just give him a chance to reset completely and focus again from the start of pre-season.
James, big up James in the chat. He says, happy birthday to Ajax too. Worth a shout out from the gang. Huge video last night. Yeah, James, 100% agree with you, bro. And a massive happy birthday to Ajax. And everyone in the comments, put a big happy birthday to Ajax. I think he might be in the comments as well. I'm not sure if he is, but
a massive happy birthday for a massive man, 6'7".
I know, right? He said he's 6'7", but we need to get him standing next to Marcel. That's what we need to do. Big up Eagle Eye Football says, evening Flex. Owen, Marcel and Cam. Flex Alexis is hilarious. He is hilarious. Yeah, unfortunately, he is. Yes. And everyone's wishing Ajax happy birthday. Marcel, are you having that patience with Rashford to come good again under Eric Ten Hag? Is that a new dawn for him, or have you kind of got different views on that?
Well, I think every player, will get reevaluated again under Ten Hag, and it's a new opportunity for them. But I think, and I want to throw the question to you guys: do you think he's reached his ceiling? Because he's been under so many world-class strikers now, hasn't really developed. We was hoping at I think he's 25 now, Flex. I've heard obviously Cam speak about it before. How many strikers has he played under, and he hasn't really developed and cultivated his game? Do we get 20 goals out of in a Prem in a season out of him? No, we don't. So it's been a horrible.
Well, we did season. The last couple of seasons.
I mean, that was in all comps, I think. Flex.
Yeah, all comps though. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So but in the Prem, we want a 20-goal season, man. And I don't think he's able to achieve that. Yes, he gets moved about on the left, on the right, up front, but his best football is maybe under a counter-attacking system, where he can get the space to run in behind. He's not going to get that under Ten Hag. It's going to be all systematic. He has to listen to instructions. This season, he hasn't really done that too well. He has to play to a particular style. He's got one more season. I give him the benefit of the doubt. Last season, he played, injured for us. He's done a lot for us, so I'll give him maybe one more season, but I think he potentially could have reached his ceiling. At one point, we was looking at him and Mbappe, or some people was. And, you can see the trajectory of the careers have been completely different. So it's for me, to be honest with you, Flex, it's one more season and that's about it.
Owen, Marcel saying, I'll give him one more season, see what he's got. Should, one, to answer, well, with what Marcel said, has he reached his ceiling? And two, Owen, should he be getting a new contract this year, or should he sit on what he's got and let's see what he can show for another year, like what Marcel was saying?
There's a couple of things there, isn't there? Has he reached his ceiling? Very possibly. I don't think we've seen much development in Rashford in 3 years? I mean, he came on the scene, burst on the scene, and then for a couple of years really did look like, man, this guy's going to be a player. And it does feel like he stagnated at 21. And the last 3 or 4 years, he's just the same. You know, if anything, he was doing things at 18 that he's not doing anymore. Good things, you know, taking on players, or if he's one-on-one. When he was 18, I remember at the Etihad, puts it through Joe Hart's legs. Marcus Rashford is not doing that anymore.
Exactly. He went past Tim McCallis, didn't he, that day?
Yeah, practically retired him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's not doing that anymore. I think is how he's playing now. Is that his ceiling? No, because I do think he's better than how he's playing right now. I do think he's out of form. I do think he's having, as Cam mentioned, a bit of a crisis.
But the best version of Marcus Rashford, like even what we've seen when he's been in form, can he get better than that? Yeah.
That is the big question. And honestly, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I've got sort of quite conflicting feelings about Rashford right now, it must be said, because I'm hearing over the last few months a lot of excuses and not a lot of accountability from Marcus Rashford. I'm hearing, well, I didn't have a pre-season. I'm hearing, I've been moved around all over the pitch. I'm hearing, Rangnick doesn't like me. Maybe when Ten Hag comes in and all that kind of stuff. I'm hearing lots of different excuses apart from maybe I'm not playing very well. And that's what maybe he needs to think about. I'm also hearing, Barcelona might be interested in me. PSG might be interested in me, in an almost a feeling of, those clubs are interested in me, so maybe you should give me a contract. If they're interested in me, then maybe it's in your prerogative to keep me. I just don't understand at Manchester United how we've got to a point whereby, does Marcus Rashford deserve a new contract right now? No, he doesn't. Just because he's not got a lot of time remaining on his deal, that isn't a good enough reason to give him a new contract. You know, like Mo Salah, right? He's getting a contract at Liverpool, yes, because he's got, not a lot left remaining on his deal, but also because he's their best player. He's like, and he's worth it. I don't know why it's become to a point at Manchester United of your contract's running out, we'll give you a new one. How about you earn a contract? How about you deserve a contract? Then we'll get into negotiations. Marcus Rashford, Eric Ten Hag might come in, and 6 weeks into next season, he might be playing brilliantly. That's when you open up negotiations for a contract. Your contract is coming up, but also you deserve it. You deserve a raise. Right now, he doesn't. And just because his contract's running out, it isn't much of I don't think it's enough incentive to be like, here, have a new contract. You can argue about Bruno Fernandes not playing well at the moment. He hasn't played well pretty much all season, but he has been rewarded for his tenure at Manchester United. I'm not sure what they would be rewarding when it comes to Marcus Rashford. And as I mentioned, I want to see from him less excuses, more accountability. I want to see, I'm just not playing well. And I need to figure it out. And I need to go away and figure out what's going on in my head and what's going on with everything else. And I need to play better. I don't want to hear Rangnick don't like me. I don't want to hear, well, I didn't have a pre-season. I don't want to hear all that, because he missed pre-season, but he came back early because he was so fit. So you can't also then say, oh, I'm not fit anymore because I didn't have pre-season. When you came back, you were fine. So what's changed?
What about some of the scaremongering? What about, so you say about excuses and accountability, and what about some of the noises that we hear that, Barcelona could be interested though, little
that's what I said.
Things that
that's to me, that's gamesmanship. And, I'm not one of those people. I think the word PR and all that kind of stuff is so overused when it comes to Manchester United, right? I do think it's so overused. I do think that sometimes players can't win with stuff they say on social media or stuff they say to the media, and everything they do, whether it's positive or whatever, gets labeled as PR. And I think that's too much, frankly. But when at the time of Rashford is obviously lobbying for a contract, it just happens to come out that Barcelona and PSG are also interested. Come on. That's just transparent as a window of really what's going on there. That's a situation where there's a guy who's not playing well and he's not playing at the moment, and suddenly noise comes out about other clubs being interested because you want a contract. That's what agents do, and like I said, you have to be deserving of it. And at the moment, he's not. Next season, that might change. Exactly.
Yeah. Planet Faz, big up Faz in the comments. Faz says, this thing of the players not feeling the love is weird to me. How do you expect me to love you when you are playing like you don't care or not enough effort? And I think that's how that echoes what Faz is saying, how we all feel about the squad. Obviously we support them. We watch the games. We're not going to stop supporting Manchester United. But in terms of supporting this group, like, you go through emotions as a fan where I'll hold my hands up. I remember under Ollie, there was some good moments where I was like, I like this team again. I remember a specific show. I can't remember. It wouldn't have been on here. It would have been on the United Stand. And I remember at the time saying, I just like this team. I like what Ollie's done. At the time, I said, I like Wan-Bissaka. I like Bruno. I like Harry Maguire. I like Luke Shaw.
We said when Ollie left,
I remember.
He's left us in a better place than when he found us.
I did say exactly, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I know a lot of people. We did say it. More fool us, more shame us, all of that. Got it wrong. I'm not one of these people who, can't go, yeah, I was wrong about that. But at the time, that's how I genuinely felt. But like what Faz says, when you look at what the squad has now become, you can't like them. You can't. You turn up in the hope that they might score, or you watch the games, and like I said, because we still love the badge, we still love the club. But in terms of the individuals, we're doing the opposite. We're trying to pick the ones that we do like, because there's not many. Do you know what I mean? And especially as a team, they stink. But on the Rashford situation, before we kind of move it on, my thing on it is, I do think he's reached his ceiling of when he was in good form. I don't think he'll get better than that time round. So when he was contributing, like what Marcel did say, I'm not washing my hands of him, because I do think he's not as bad as this, but I think he's reached a ceiling that he won't surpass, which is that when he's in form and confident, like what Cam's saying, he's doing things without thinking again and stuff like that. I think he can be effective. I don't think we should forget that. When you've got a fully firing Marcus Rashford, who might not be good at some parts of his game, but is good at others, he's still an effective player. But I still think that level is not super world class. It's not world class to me. I think Marcus Rashford can be a good player. I don't think he could be a great, world class player, in my opinion. I'm open to see that change. I'm open for an Ten Hag masterclass to make, Rashford look as effective or be as effective as Sadio Mane or, Luis Diaz, these types of players, when I look at the effect that they have on them. But I'm open to go, wow, I eat my words. But that's just how I feel about him right now. But I wouldn't quit on him. And I agree, he shouldn't get a new contract now. He shouldn't, because I just think you keep him another year, maybe invoke that second year, the extra extension, where you can just extend it without actually giving him a new deal. Let's see what he does next year. Let's see if he really wants to fight for his Manchester United future.
Yeah, and if he's offended by that, and he goes, "Oh, I can't believe they didn't." Then
see you later.
And obviously, that's a mentality problem. Then at the end of the day,
exactly,
because you're being asked, earn your contract. That's all you're being asked, And if you're a professional, you'd be like, if you're a professional, you'd be like, okay, I will. Not only will I earn it, but I'll earn it, and you can pay me even more than I was asking now. Take a bit of challenge,
Yeah.
And the positives are it's a new season. The positives are it's a new season, a new manager. Do you guys think, though, that Ten Hag can get that next level out of him? Because I do think it's a ceiling thing, but do you think, with that structure, with that shape that he adds to a team, do you think he can make us better?
I think if he can simplify Rashford's role a little bit, it could help. I think if you look at Raheem Sterling, I think in terms of his core skill set, I think Rashford's probably at heart a better finisher than Raheem Sterling was. And if you look at how many goals Sterling's scoring, if you put Rashford in that role at City, I think he can do just as well, if not better. But the issue is that I don't know if Ten Hag is going to want to put that amount of time into Rashford when he's got Jadon Sancho, who's probably better for his system and better equipped to start on the left. And if that happens, Rashford's then trying to play. If Rashford's a rotation option, he's coming in for Jadon Sancho, who's a very different player to what he can do, and he'll come into a team that's set up the way Jadon Sancho plays. So I think he'll have a little bit of trouble in that. But I do think, as Flex said, Rashford's good enough to be a rotation option. He's good enough to sort of come off the bench and impact games. I mean, if teams are opening up towards the end of games to try and if we've got a 1-0 lead, teams are trying to attack us, bring off Rashford from the bench, let him go and score, stretch the game. He can be useful for that sort of thing. But I think in terms of whether he's hit his ceiling at his absolute best, and to be fair, looking back at his absolute best, at that point, he's contributing basically a goal or assist every game. So if he can get back to that level, then it's not a bad level to be at in terms of his raw numbers. But yeah, I think he'll improve under Ten Hag, but whether he gets a starting place is going to be tough, especially if we sign a right winger.
Two contrasting comments here. Stay Patton says Rashi's still way better than people's favourite Marcel, who's been whack on loan. When you're not going to mention that? Yeah, he hasn't had the best time at Sevilla, but I don't know. Technically, if you look at Ten Hag and how he probably wants to play, I know people have had it with Martial and it's out of sight, out of mind, and people have made their minds up. I do agree. We need to move on. Never know. I just think there's so many question marks when a new manager comes in. We'll talk a little bit about some Ten Hag stuff later, but some of the indications is that there's a lot of blank slates there. There's a lot of clean slates. He wants to have a look at everyone. He might see some stuff in training or obviously already be aware of Martial's qualities that, again, we talk about him on his best day. I'm fed up of talking about players on their best day. Pogba,
that's what I was
Rashford,
just about to say. That's what I was just about to say, Marcel.
I just want a new thing.
When are we going to stop having the conversation?
Yeah, manager might think different.
Can this manager bring out of this player? How many managers are we going to go through and ask that same question and they don't do it?
But don't you think the last few managers were coaches? Were managers, not coaches. Like Ten Hag's more of a coach. Like he's going to cultivate the player.
I understand that, Marcel. But also, you have to, as a player, take it upon yourself and not be like, "Is this going to be the guy that brings it out of me?" You bring it out yourself. And your coach will enhance that.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew Chow says, for goodness sake, Flex, Rashford is pants. We should cash in. Let's call a spade a spade. He is just another Welbeck, Walcott, Dele Alli. His ceiling is reached. And that, there are a lot of other Man United fans who I think take that stance that Andrew Chow, thank you for the contribution, bro, I appreciate that, has just taken. Like, no, just call a spade. He's not good enough. He's never going to be good enough. He's proved what he really is this season. See you later. There's a lot of people who think that. I think this is where, we'll move on from Rashford in a sec, but I feel like this is where it's going to be a big test of resolve for when everyone's saying, back the new manager, get behind whatever, give him what he wants. Because if he comes in and says, well, the first thing I want, or one of the first 5 things I want, is Rashford not to leave, I'm going to get a player out of him. I want him. I see him as a fantastic player. I've seen things last season where his confidence has gone. I've had a good chat with him. I believe in him. I've had a chat with Harry Maguire. I believe in him. These things could happen. And these are not things that we necessarily want to hear, but it's going to test the resolve of a lot of Man United fans. Before we've even kicked a ball, before we even get to preseason, all these questions will be asked in presses. And even on preseason, the outrage when we're out there in bloody, not Singapore, where are we going again?
Thailand.
Australia and Thailand. Australia and Thailand and where else? Before we've even, playing against Melbourne and Melbourne victory, I think there. And people go, oh, Maguire's still captain. Things never change. I could see it. I can see it now. So we've all got to be... we've all got to just be mindful that we've kind of committed to saying, let's back this manager. But I feel there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens early on where we're like, oh, I thought that would change. And we're going to have to wait to see how it works out. Smash a like if you lot are new to the channel. And if you just start watching the video, and most importantly, make sure you guys subscribe. Marcel, should David De Gea get a new contract?
No way, guys. No way. He's not good enough. We need to move on.
Why not?
We need to move on. He can't play football. He's not a footballing goalkeeper. He can't play out from the back. He concedes counterattacks in almost every single game. With this poor kicking show, he needs to go. The top goalkeepers in our league right now, at City and Liverpool, are getting assists from the back. De Gea is scared from coming off his line, very scared at collecting crosses. He's not a brave goalkeeper. We need a brave goalkeeper. I would rather, don't get me wrong, he's a world-class shot stopper, but I would rather a goalkeeper that's got a little bit less of the world-class shot stopping, but got a lot more of the passing and distribution, especially in the Eric Ten Hag system. That's the important factor of his game, building the attacks from the back. It's time for De Gea to go. We have to get comfortable with saying that. The whole player FC Flex has to go. Even me with Bruno. At the end of the day, if Bruno's not performing, he has to go as well. We have to back this man. And this man, for me personally, De Gea is not going to be a successful goalkeeper anymore at this club. I don't think we win a Premier League with him in goal.
I mean, where do I start? Where do I start, Marcel? When you say the things about distribution, you can't go against that. De Gea's deal isn't distribution. He's not amazing with his feet. I also, by the way, saw Ramsdale do some terrible passes at the weekend as well. So I think we kind of over scrutinize sometimes. De Gea does a bad pass and we go, tell you what, his distribution's awful. Okay, it's like, well, every goalkeeper has his day when it comes to that kind of thing. My point is, should David De Gea get a new contract? When does his current one run out? Is it 2 years? Something like that? I think about 2 years. Like that, Maybe you do wait 2 years, and at the end of that contract go, okay, now we move on, because we might have, in these transfer windows, addressed all of the massive other problems we have in our side, whether it's strikers, fullbacks, centre-backs, midfielders. The analogy I've used before is that if you're worrying about De Gea now, the house is on fire and you're going, but the doorbell's not working, guys. What's going on with the doorbell? The house is on fire. Let's fix that first. So when it comes to De Gea, should he get a new contract? Maybe not, but I just feel like I look at Man United this season, and it's been terrible. We've been terrible this season. We're what, 6th in the league, fifth in the league. Legitimately, we could be like 10th or maybe even lower if it wasn't for David De Gea.
Yes.
And that's been like that for a couple of years, even like under Van Gaal and under Mourinho. I know people say that's ages ago, but the point is that that's what he does. He has saved us so many times. And is there in the future, should we be looking at other goalkeepers? Yes. This summer, we're looking for a backup keeper. If we found this backup keeper that was, I don't know, like 18, but he was great with his feet. And then you say, actually, for the next 2 years, if you're happy to be De Gea's understudy, in a couple of years, you can overtake him then. Maybe do that. But I don't know. I think it's harsh, Marcel.
£420,000 a week, Owen. Are you willing to pay David De Gea £420,000?
He's not on that now, is he?
But that's what apparently the bump in new contract's going to be around that much.
Wow,
you want to pay that much,
Marcel,
and he hasn't got no ability.
Give me facts, Marcel.
I don't mind. Whatever it is, he shouldn't be on what he's on. Whatever it is that he's on, he's at least 150, if that. He's not. He's got world class goal stop. Shot.
He will see out his contract. He will see out his contract at Manchester United 100%. Like, we're not going to sell David De Gea this summer, are we?
No, but okay, but. Go on.
No, carry on.
But the resurgence of so when all the other teams, let's say Liverpool, let's say City, the teams that are running the league right now, they had to change their goalies. They went from a more modern type of goalkeeper, and that's the revolution, Marcel, that we must.
Ederson is a freak. Ederson is a freak. He is a centre. I've said it so many times. People look at Ederson and go, "We need to get someone like Ederson." There is no one like Ederson. Like, he's a centre back that plays in goal.
Do you know who De Gea should play for? He should play for Atletico. Because that's what they need, a world-class stopping kind of. They need a counter-attack, like a goalkeeper that's going to be ready to stop everything, and they don't need anything special. We need a CDM in goal that can play and save.
Yeah, but who'd you get then? Who'd you get? Like I said,
that's our scouting structure is working on that as we speak. Okay, that's what's happening.
There is no scouting structure. They're all out of a job. They're empty.
You just sacked 2 of them. They've centralized it now.
This is the same club that had 804 people on a shortlist, and they got Wan-Bissaka. They might even just put a central defensive midfielder in goal as well.
No, I understand. Go on,
Cam is nodding away. Cam, I'm going to come to you in 1 second. I've done a poll. Make sure you guys go and vote. I think this is fascinating stuff, to be honest with you. This is really fascinating stuff. Should De Gea get a new contract? Very simple. Yes, no, or not yet. We've got 40% saying yes, 28% saying no, 32% saying not yet. About a minute ago, it was so even, and it's still fairly even, but it's more siding towards yes, he should. Owen fighting the case there. Marcel not having it. I saw Cam sort of nodding with Marcel. A lot of people in the comments are agreeing with Marcel. A lot of people in the comments are saying, no way, Marcel. Cam, talk to me.
I mean, we've been bad defensively this year, and what you need for any team to be defensively good, you've got to be compact as a unit. That doesn't mean just 10 players. That means all 11. So as Marcel said, at Atletico, where they sit back and that whole unit, when they're being compacted on the edge of their box, fine. Their head could be really connected in it. It can be part of that because there's not that much space to sweep in behind. If you want a team that's proactive, goes to press high, and De Gea's not coming off his line, you've got a massive, massive problem. And the problem is, it's not just in terms of, okay, he doesn't sweep, so we're losing out on that. It's the psychological effect on everyone else in that team. If your centre-backs all of a sudden are having to worry about what's going on behind them because they're thinking, even if the striker, normally, if you've got a keeper that's willing to sweep, the striker would have to beat that centre-back one-on-one and get there before the keeper to actually get onto the end of a ball. If the keeper doesn't come out, all they've got to do is beat the centre-back 1v1. So it means that the ball doesn't have to be particularly good. Even an average ball into an area can allow a fast striker to get there in front of a defender who's not quite so fast, like Harry Maguire. So if he's got in his head what's going on behind me and that striker, he can't go and be proactive. He can't go and press because he knows he's not that fast. He's not going to be able to deal with it. As soon as you have a team that's having to worry about what's behind them, you've got a massive, massive problem because then they can't go and be proactive like you want, like Eric Ten Hag wants, like Guardiola wants, like Jurgen Klopp wants when they lose the ball. It's the exact same thing in terms of at corners. If you want a defence that are willing to go out and head the ball, you need a keeper that's also willing to cover the space behind them. Because if Harry Maguire goes and commits, he heads the ball and let's say it gets clear back to the side, cross comes in behind him, and he knows the keeper's not coming off his line, he might end up in a big problem. And we talk about players that are available. You look at, you don't even have to look very far. Look at the Spain squad. De Gea was left out of the Spain squad for 3 goalkeepers that will be available for probably 15, 20 million pounds. Robert Sanchez from Brighton would be a fantastic example. Sorts out the problem pretty much straight away. Much better with his feet. Actually willing to come and sweep. Actually willing to claim crosses. Problem solved pretty much straight away. Dean Henderson, in terms of profile, is better. Is he a good enough keeper for Man United? Probably not. In fact, almost definitely not. But profile, he might be a little bit better because he's more willing to sweep. But Robert Sanchez is better. David Raya at Brentford, he's better for what we want. And that's why they're in the Spain squad and De Gea's not.
This is massive. Prince says, Arsenal fan here, Leno was a great shot stopper, but his feet were awful, and the difference Ramsdale makes for us can't be measured. He calms the defense. Another super chat here from Kristen. Kristen says, David De Gea is the least of our worries.
He's also right.
Yeah. Okay. And Derek says, facts. Ten Hag likes a keeper that's good with his feet. De Gea wouldn't fit in his system. Same reason he got dropped from Spain. Do some research, people. Well, that's what Cam was basically alluding to there. And Michael says, I have a hard time saying De Gea has to leave. He's been unbelievable in his time at United, and it's okay that he's different to Ederson and Alisson. Which, okay, I agree with that. And another super chat here says, so ungrateful. De Gea should retire here. Sully says, basically, obviously, big
bench,
De Gea.
Yeah. I would say, and this is what I would say with this, because
this is scathing. I didn't expect this. These little dark horses down here, mate.
Yeah, I was doing my best to let Cam finish that point there, but I am in agreement that in the next 2 years, I agree with you. We should be looking for that kind of goalkeeper. I'm not arguing that point because I think it's fair, and I agree. I think that De Gea might struggle to adapt to the Ten Hag system. We might see a similar situations like Czech at Arsenal, right? When Emery came in a couple of moments, you go, whatever. But as of right now, it's just not a priority. And I understand what you're saying, Cam, about worrying what's behind you, but David De Gea is also worrying about what's in front of him. Because what he's watching every week, you can talk about what if the keeper should come out for corners with Maguire or whatever. If anything, stay on your line, mate. You've got a better chance of saving it. Because if you come out, who knows what's going to happen with that defense? I don't think he's got a clue what's going on in front of him. And it doesn't even matter if they're worried about what's behind him. They can't even defend what's in front of them at the moment. Again, I just think that it should be a long-term thing. But as of right now, I don't know. It's goalkeepers union as well.
For me, part of the confusion. Yeah, go on, Cam.
And part of the confusion they're having to deal with is because they don't know what's behind them. I think from corners, I think most managers now would want a keeper that can reliably claim anything in the 6-yard box. If you've got that from your goalkeeper, it makes your job zonal marking so much easier. And it's part of the reason we've been so bad from set pieces and had to hire that set piece coach that may or may not have actually done his job properly. But we look at the psychological effect. At top level football, that's one of the biggest factors in how a team performs, because you're making decisions in a split second. If you're not 100% confident to go and be aggressive, you're not going to do it, or you'll do it and be half a second late to the ball, by which time a chance has gone and you may have conceded a goal. That's how fine the margins are. So if you've got a keeper that's not doing the right thing, it's a big problem. And the problem is, yes, De Gea is not the biggest problem right now, but it starts from the back. If you want to build a team that is capable of playing the right football, you've got to get the right profile of player in. It doesn't.
But if you think we'd have the Brighton keeper now, our defense would be better. Some of those performances that Maguire put in, you reckon that some of those goals wouldn't happen?
If there's a little bit more, I mean,
I've seen that Brighton keeper have some stinkers as well.
Ederson and Alisson have some stinkers. Ederson is not actually that good of a shot stopper at all. And if you look at when Liverpool had those problems with their back line, they had so many injuries, and I think Alisson was in net for some of that. They kept playing that high line, even when they made mistakes, even when things went wrong, they stuck to their principles because they trusted eventually it would work. United at the moment cannot do that. That's why you see defenders constantly in two minds, whether to go and press, whether to sit off, and you see us changing our game plan every match, because we don't have a keeper that can do the right things. Liverpool, with Alisson and with the backup keeper as well, they can trust that they'll actually get out and sweep. Obviously, City with Zach Steffen, I don't know if you can trust him with the ball at his feet, but at least the principles are there. And once you've got to build your team on principles. You can't just build it on different profiles and changing at random, because that's not how you build a title-winning team. De Gea has only been good for us in season when we've really struggled as a team, and he's had a lot of shots to save. That's the reality.
I think again, you talk about the defense not sure where to press up or whatever. I think that's very harsh to say that's because they don't know what's going on behind them. They don't know where to press up or whatever because they don't know what they're doing. Just as defenders, when it comes to Ralph before a game, that's not part of the game plan. You've got defenders as a keeper. You've got defenders in front of you that are just pushing up for no reason. And I don't think that's because we don't know what De Gea is doing behind us. That's because they don't know how to defend.
Well, one of the biggest problems I think we saw, and we saw it in the game against Arsenal, when our pressing didn't work, it was because the Arsenal players between the lines were dropping in between our defence and midfield, and the defence didn't want to go and follow them. The reason they didn't want to go and follow them is because they thought they might be exposed by one long ball in behind, because Lindelof and Maguire are the quickest. Yeah. And that is because any long ball into an area, if your keeper doesn't come out for it, just hitting a vague, or to be honest, quite a large area is good enough for that long ball, because the striker will get there first because they're quicker. If your keeper comes out, it means that striker's got to perfectly time their run and be quicker than your centre back, and the ball's got to be in the right place. It makes it 10 times harder for a good chance to be created. So even if you do, your keeper comes out, misses the ball or whatever once, and you do concede a goal from it, in general, over the course of a season, you'll be so much better off.
Andrew Chow says, Marcel and Cam on point, spitting facts and logics. You're sitting on the flex as per usual. Sitting on the fence as per usual flex. Owen living in the past and KG just vibing. Sell De Gea now, please. So Andrew Chow definitely agreeing with Cam and Marcel, and also agreeing with 28% of the poll who say David De Gea shouldn't get.
Can we add the not ready yet section part of our 28%, please?
Not yet,
because technically they're saying it's gonna happen. They're still in the.
Well, they're saying, not really, because they're saying don't just they could be saying it's quite an ambiguous one, because they're basically saying, well, he is still good enough now. Don't give him it yet. Let's see how it turns out with Ten Hag first. Let's give him a year.
Bear in mind, I'm saying he shouldn't get a contract. I'm just saying he should see it out. I'm saying we should be maybe planning for that, but I'm just saying I think it's harsh to our woes are not David De Gea, or it'd be like, oh, we conceded so many goals because David De Gea this season.
Yeah,
no way.
Ray Carl Brown says, look at the first goal we gave away. We down 4-0. If De Gea was there, our centre backs are not great. Look at the first goal we gave away, 4-0 down. What is that? The Liverpool one? I don't know which one he means.
Was he saying that we're down 4-0 because of the Arsenal game? They got in a few times. I don't know.
If De Gea wasn't there, it would have been 4-0. I think he might mean. How many times can we say that this season? Michael says Maguire is captain, and we're worried about David De Gea. I agree. I agree going down that route about process of sorting the shit out. Like I really do. I'll say my thing in a minute. Adudu says, trust me, De Gea is a priority. You build up from the back. It all starts with your goalkeeper. A better ball playing goalkeeper improves your defense because you keep the ball. Okay, I hear that. And okay, here's my thing. Yeah, I think there's way too much emphasis at this stage of our development that hasn't started yet on fixing David De Gea. Me personally, I think we have to worry about a team looking like a team first. Yes, you can start at the back and all that, but with all the changes that are going to happen in terms of playing style with 10 other outfield players and all the different jobs they need to do, I need to know my keeper's going to save shots. I need to know that. Like for me personally, yes, distribution and things like that can all be worked on, but how do we not know that David De Gea can't do a little, some of those things? We all talk about, can Rashford take in information from the new manager? You know, can he do things without thinking when the new manager gives him instruction? Can Sancho adopt a new style? Is Marcel going to come back in and do this? Is McTominay going to be able to do that? All these players, including the keeper, is somebody who has to look at what the new manager's asking from them and try to adapt. That might be De Gea being on the edge of his box as a simple instruction to say, you might not be amazing at pinging it left, right, everywhere, everything. But do you know what? As a starting point, can you just play 20 yards a little bit forward or just on the edge of your 18 box when we have the ball in this area? When we hit a pressing zone and we're on a counter press and we're in this transition, I want you here. Can you just do that? De Gea might say, do you know what? I'm going to start doing that. That in itself might just help us in trying to do what we want to do in the first year. I think David De Gea has enough mileage in the tank and should get the respect from us as fans to say there is a whole new Man United about to happen. This is a guy who saved us countlessly for the number one job, which I still class as the number one job. Everyone talks about how the game's moved on and, you know, players are more like this now and the new age this and all that. Call me old school, I don't know. I want my keeper to be fantastic at shot stopping. Yes, the evolution needs to come. I understand that. And when it gets towards the end of his contract, we might look at it and say, right, we've had 18 months with Erik Ten Hag and David De Gea. We can clearly see that the rest of the squad is doing the things they need to do. And now he's getting highlighted and we're struggling in that area. Let's get a young keeper up and coming, David Raya, cool, all of that kind of thing. Let's look at it then. But for me, I'm like, there's so many things broken that You've got to sort out Harry Maguire. You've got to sort out attacking fullbacks, overlapping fullbacks. You've got to talk about a midfield that is so disjointed it gets passed through, and the whole reason why David De Gea has to face so many shots. You've got to talk about wingers who can't cross the ball, who can't provide service for a number 9. You've got to talk about whole defensive team shape in front of a goalkeeper who is so exposed. You have to sort all them things first.
And so also, Flex, with that distribution, we're talking about passing out from the back. These defenders can't pass it 5 yards. Even if De Gea makes that pass, they're kicking out for a throw-in. So, I mean, we could talk about, the good distribution from the goalkeeper. And again, it is not De Gea's strong point. But also, I've seen these centre-backs not be able to do 5-yard passings. I've seen these midfielders lose the ball countless times. So who's to say even if De Gea was picking out these worldy passes, whatever, they'd be able to hold on to the ball still?
But that's just it. If you say there's a nice little new system coming out and now Wan-Bissaka has to receive the ball from a 20-yard ping a bit further up the pitch from David De Gea because he's open, the ball's going to break down at Wan-Bissaka straight away, on most times.
Would you rather De Gea passes it directly to the opposition then?
No, I would rather.
But that's happening anyway. Either way, it's happening.
I would rather the team. I would rather spend a whole year, right, working on exactly what the 10 outfield players need to do to help us win football matches, rather than worrying can the goalkeeper ping it 40 yards on a counter attack because he's got to think quickly. Because to me, I don't think that's going to happen within the first season. That might be something we get to look at the end of the first season under Eric Ten Hag, when we've gone, do you know what? The expectancy was, we're not even worried about top 4. We need you to help us even look like Brighton. We need you to help us even look like a team like Wolves. We need you to help us look like West Ham. Moving cohesively, give us a style and get our players to gel and move as a unit. Compact, transition. When we lose the ball, how do we react? When we have the ball, how penetrative are we? When we want to make chances, when we want to recycle the ball, what's our ball rotation like? What's our rotation of position like? I want to see that first. 10 outfield players before I look at my keeper, who's a fantastic shot stopper and lacks in the department of distribution first. Then after the first season, that's when I'm more open to say, right, okay, we fixed, or the playing style looks like it's going to the next level. That was a decent first year. We've got 4 players in, outfield players. There's so much we need to buy. I'm just like, how on earth can we get rid of David De Gea now? That, for me, that gives more uncertainty in a team that is going to get ripped apart. But me personally, I wouldn't start there.
Okay, well, that's one season. That's the first season, yes, but a bumper new contract, no way. And you're talking about 10 players, Flex. Under Ten Hag system, it's 11 players, and the 11th player enables us to stay higher up the pitch. And that's how we sustain our attacks, and that's how we sustain our possession in the game. We need a player that can, you're talking about rotation of the ball. It's quintessential to his game, especially at the back, so we can go through the keeper and then back out to the other way. So we need a keeper. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because of the work that he's done for us. He's one of our Premier League winners. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for one season. But beyond that point, he has to go. I don't think we win Premier Leagues with him in goal.
But what if say you got a new keeper next season, right? Say you got a new keeper, but you didn't really address the defensive issues. Our keeper is now better at passing it out from the back, but he's not as good at shot stopping. We're conceding more goals because he's not saving. He's not doing what De Gea does. I get it. I'm with you that long term, we absolutely need to be looking to a keeper.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree.
And I wouldn't give him a new contract right now. I probably wouldn't. I would say, you know what, actually, hey, even though you've had a great season, you have been one of our better players this season in the bad season. And I do think it's fair that if you do look at some of De Gea's better seasons, it is when we're having so many shots at us. I think that's fair. But I just think right now to be focusing that much on it and be saying that, the defenders are worried about what's behind them, all that kind of stuff, mate. Think about De Gea. He's worried about the shit show in front of him at the same time as well. And I just think that having a keeper that we better distribution right now, if you drop, say, the Brighton or Brentford keeper in that team right now, we would concede more goals. Because one, they're not saving the shots that De Gea is. And two, if they're passing the ball to those defenders or players, the ball's coming right back with a shot that he can't save.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's the biggest
issue
or one of the bigger issues to be focusing on right now.
Michael says David De Gea is second for saves and you want a worse keeper. I know some people counter argument say because we don't keep the ball well, because distribution is not good, he faces more shots. I get it. There's counter arguments for everything. And Samaya says 6 players' contracts running out and leaving. Apart from them, Jones, Bailly, Pereira, Martial, and 2 fullbacks getting sold. This should be the priority, I think. And that's just it. I'm with Owen in terms of like let the contract run. I'm not saying give him a new deal now, because I agree, to go to the next level, we need to change what we do. I understand that. But for me, getting rid of him now as Eric Ten Hag walks through the door because David De Gea is not good with his feet, when we've got literally all that to sort out, like what Samaya says there, I'm like, to me, that's ludicrous. To me, it makes no sense, because I'm like, you've got all these players leaving, such uncertainty. Some people say just get it out of the way, but I don't know, man. To me, that doesn't make sense. I need to see. I know everyone's saying it's 11 players on the pitch because it's including the keeper, but by and large, the fundamentals of how this team is going to change, for me, right now, with how much we're in the mud, the buck doesn't stop at David De Gea, whether he can ping it 30 yards or be good on the counter attack because he can zing it and that. For me, it comes from fundamental structure from the 10 players first. Intensity, how quickly you can win back the ball. What we're like I said, all the things earlier. That it's a big part of it. I'm not completely disregarding how important a keeper is. That is, for me, I see it as the sprinkle on top. I think we should do the process the other way around and then get to De Gea and say, right, De Gea, you've had the extra year and 18. Maybe De Gea's lucky that it's so broken in front of him that actually he gets seen as the least thing to deal with. But I think with what he's done for us and how he sticks to his fundamental job, which is stopping shots in a crap team, he's kind of earned the right to say, you know what? Come to me last. Come to me last, mate. Sort out that midfield. Sort out them fullbacks. Get me, first of all, some centre-backs that are fit enough to play every week, and then get me ones that are good enough. Like, sort that out. Sort out my wingers not understanding what's expected of them and when to go and when not to go. And sort all of that shit out and then come and speak to me. That's what I'm saying if I'm De Gea. And I agree with that. But a lot of people, don't agree with it. I mean, I think it's so interesting. Cam, what you saying before we move on?
I mean, you mentioned earlier we want to get to a level where we're playing as a team like Brighton, West Ham, and Wolves. I mean, if you look at one of the first things Bruno Lage did at Wolves, he brought in Jose Sarr, who's a much better sweeper than Patricio was. Jose Sarr is like so good at coming off his line, claims crosses, good with his feet. Look at the Brighton keeper as well, also very good at those things. I think it's such an important part of the team. I think we're trying to build a spine of a team.
But they got a steady team. But look at the rest of Wolves' team; it's still pretty much
Klopp
there.
Put his goalkeeper in last. He built the team first and put Alisson in last.
He did, and Pep obviously got Claudio Bravo as one of the first things he did. So I guess it depends on the style of the manager and what they want to do.
Depend on the manager, yeah.
But I think it is a really important part of the spine of the team. And I think even with Klopp, though, he did get other keepers first. He tried Mignolet, he tried Karius, but the point of them was that they were closer to the profile that he wanted. So I think all the best managers do recognise it's a really, really important part of the team. But
100% agree. 100% agree.
I can't see De Gea lasting too long. I think, as you guys say, there are bigger problems, and it might be that we try and coach De Gea to play 20 yards higher. But I think, given that he's had some fantastic goalkeeper coaches in the past, Franz Hoek in particular, and he's not learnt to go and claim crosses, to go and be a more active sweeper, I think I think he's past the point of being coached on that sort of stuff. I think the distribution is one issue because, I mean, as Marcel says, like once or twice a game, every single game, he's going to get a back pass rolled into him and he'll ping it right into an opposition player in midfield, maybe 10, 15 yards outside the United box every single time. It happens at least once or twice a game. And that's really frustrating, but I don't think that's the biggest issue. For me, the biggest issue is sweeping and dealing with crosses. I think just being more aggressive off his line is the biggest thing we need to sort out.
I do agree with his flaws, 100%. I cannot fault that at all. I don't think anyone, even the most avid David De Gea lover, can sit there and say his distribution is good, his commanding of the area is good. That's something. I agree.
You never know if he comes out to punch. You never know where that punch is going off.
Exactly.
And bravery, even against Arsenal at home, he just Emile Smith's Rowe goal. It was just too soft for me.
Was it Fred? Did Fred step on his foot or something?
Yeah, it was our own teammate. You need to be a bit more.
That goal was just
ridiculous.
Needs
to be a lot more stronger from the guys. Yeah, man.
Don't
get me wrong. Centre midfielder and the fullbacks are the main issue. But
well, it's like me saying this to you right now. So you guys have made amazing points as to why David De Gea can't continue, and don't give him a new contract, get rid of him now. You said, if I said to you, Marcel, right now, would you rather a new centre back or a new keeper, which one would you choose?
It's got to be a new centre back, definitely.
If I said to you, would you rather a new fullback or a new goalkeeper, which one would you choose?
Also a new fullback.
If I said to you, would you rather a new central midfielder or defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder, because Pogba's going to go, which one would you choose?
It has to be, and that's the biggest problem, I think, is the midfield. So I would put him maybe 4th in the list. So that's why I say, and 100%, that's why I say it's got to be another season.
Yeah, a younger striker to back up Ronaldo. If Ronaldo stays, Cavani's going to leave. Would you rather have another striker coming in who's going to support Ronaldo and give him something else, or would you rather change David De Gea?
Change the keeper now. I think the front line, we can stick with this front line. Marcel's going to come in now. He might. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he could maybe under the Ten Hag system.
So Ronaldo's 1 out of 4
around. Yeah, one out
of the 4.
Yeah.
Cam, on those things, would you agree with the 1 out of 4? Would you have gone on unanimous, like 4 things you'd rather do before you change De Gea? Or would he be in like number 2 in your list or whatever?
I agree with those
in this summer.
Yeah, no, I agree with most of Marcel's ones. The only one I disagree with is centre-back. I think, we do need a good centre-back eventually, but I think with Varane, Lindelof and Maguire, I know he's had a horrendously bad season and he's made so many mistakes, but I think on his best game and at his best level, he's able to show a lot better than what we've seen from him this year. And I think we can get away with him, Varane and Lindelof being the first 3 choice centre-backs. And I'd rather have, if you're talking about something that affects the starting lineup every single game, I'd rather have a new keeper in than that. But definitely take a fullback and a midfielder over a new keeper.
Fair play. Sumia says, also, Flex, we can't just sell every player. Who does Ten Hag work with then? LOL. Yeah, there's so many players leaving. It's exactly. And Andrew Chow, big up, come back again, says, Flex, what Marcel was saying, David De Gea is not a priority. What I think he means is the right offer comes in and we get an alternative, then why not? Then why not? Why wait? So if someone comes in now and offers, I don't know, what's David De Gea worth with 2 years left on his contract? I don't know, 50 million maybe. If someone came in the summer, would David De Gea be worth 50 million?
Though you're saying that though, imagine the reaction if we sold De Gea and we went, oh yeah, but Maguire's going to be starting first game of the season and he's the captain.
Great.
Could you imagine?
Great point. That's what I'm saying. There's so many things to this. Keegan says, you can't judge a shark on its ability to climb a tree. David De Gea hasn't been asked to play higher up. How are we dismissing him if he hasn't been asked? Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. I was alluding to that. Maybe there's like some simple things that we can get from Ten Hag. Just ask him to be a little bit more advanced. Maybe that can help more than we think it would. But I do agree with Cam. There's certain things in his game, like the distribution, coming for crosses. He's been a seasoned vet for a long time. I can't see David De Gea saying, do you know what? I'm going to start coming for loads more crosses and be better at it. I do agree with that. There's some things that are probably uncoachable past a certain stage of your career. And I definitely think David De Gea is in that. Let's move on, because that David De Gea section was definitely not supposed to last that long. But actually, it was a fantastic
that was good
piece. And to finish off, nearly over 1,000 people have voted in the poll. And it's 47% yes, he should get a new deal. 26% no, he shouldn't, and 28% not yet. People are saying as well. Marcel wants that put into the no, he shouldn't range, but we managed to swerve that. We've got about 10 minutes left. The Paul Mitchell situation, Cam, potentially incoming ? We've got rid of the 2 chief scouts or head of global scouting. A couple of changes are being made, and if Paul Mitchell comes, what sort of impact do you think that will have? Does that excite you?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think he's worked with Ralph Rangnick before. He signed the likes of Son for Spurs and Mane for Southampton. But I think for me, I'm going to look at it from a slightly different angle. The thing I'm most excited for on this one is what he'll do in terms of selling players. Because if you look at what United have done in recent years, we've been terrible at selling players. Dan James is our 4th most expensive player sale of all time at 30 million. And outside of that, for the vast majority of our players...
What was that? What did you say? Dan James for 30 million. Did he go for 30 million, Dan James?
30 million, and he's the 4th most expensive player we've ever sold.
That is insane when you deep that, Yeah. That is insane. Or is that good business?
It's a rare example. It's a rare example of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the point. If you look at the likes of Liverpool, they haven't got much money to spend from the owners. They're not getting given much, but they're getting the likes of 50 million for Ivan Solanke. Jordan Ibe and Dominic Solanke for 50 million.
Yeah.
We need to learn to scam clubs like that. When we can do that, then we're basically unstoppable. The money we get every year and we can add that on top, then we're in a much better place. But I think that's the thing I'm most excited for, because a lot of the clubs lower down, they know what their players are worth now. Whereas in previous years, clubs didn't really know. Everyone knows what their assets are worth now. So apart from United, seemingly. So if we can start to get a little bit more for the players that we get out the door, people will start to look at United as, rather than the place to go to get cheap players that have flopped or to fleece them for transfer incomings. It just means we'll operate a bit more smartly and hopefully have a bit more money to spend.
How do you see it, Marcel? Is it something that shows that the club actually could be moving in the right direction?
Definitely, Flex. Definitely, guys. I think the fruits of that labor, getting them in will show maybe in 2 years from now or a few years from now, once we get the right players. Ten Hag wants a specific style, so you have to look for those players that have those attributes and those. But I think Tuchel, he was at Monaco before, right? So Tuchel Mendy's from Monaco. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a connection there, maybe. And I think our key position right now is a defensive midfielder. So there might be a little bit of a link there, and we'll mostly be linked to that kind of player. I think he might be going Real Madrid though. But I think the fruits of that, Mitchell coming in will happen maybe 2 or so seasons from now.
Yeah. Before I get to you, Owen, I mean, I just feel with Mitchell, I mean, Victor Wanyama, got him in when he was excellent. I look at what's his face as well, Alderweireld, got him in, and at Southampton first and facilitated at Spurs. He's been at Spurs as well, and at that period, Alderweireld was arguably the best centre-back in the league, along with a couple of others in that time. When Kyle Walker left Spurs, got Trippier from Burnley, turned him into one of the best right-backs in the league at that time. Look what Trippier's gone on to achieve. I just think he's got a really good eye for players. Look at Nkunku now at RB Leipzig. He's always got a hand in that. And having worked with alongside Ralf Rangnick, that could be, people are sort of saying, Ralf Rangnick upstairs, working alongside Mitchell, Ten Hag as manager. That looks to me, Owen, that, if this happens, that looks like a real tangible change, in it.
It does. I mentioned it before that it felt like, and I'm very cautious to say it, but it does feel somewhat like a shift is happening internally. Previously, when I heard things like with Paul Mitchell or even Ralf Rangnick, people going, Ralf needs to be in as a football director or whatever, I was very skeptical because I just didn't see where was that position, because it felt like, well, all the positions are filled at Manchester United, right? Because you've got John Murtough, you've got Darren Fletcher, and whatever your opinions are, they're in those roles. So I thought, how do they get into that structure? But once the news came out about essentially the recruitment department just being sort of, burnt down, build it up again, you just go, that is literally the space that you're looking for, because you've got 2 guys there in Paul Mitchell and Ralf Rangnick that their reputation when it comes to transfer speaks for itself. You can put an unbelievable starting 11 together of players they have signed in the past decade that are still great today. If it's Ralf, it's people like Haaland, it's people like Neuer, it's people like, Werner, it's, the list, Mane, the list goes on and on. When it's Mitchell, like you said, it's Alderweireld, it's all of the players at Spurs, of that Spurs side, that should have done way better and possibly won a league. So, it is very exciting stuff. My concern is, like with anything in Manchester United structurally, is that do their opinions get listened to? What are they walking into? But as I mentioned, the previous CEO was Ed Woodward, and it kind of felt like he was a CEO, director of football, manager,
everything.
Everything. And it doesn't. And to give maybe Richard Arnold a smidge of credit, even though I'm not really keen on doing that, it does appear that maybe he's got the opinion of, guess what? I am a guy with an investment and banker background. I shouldn't be making football decisions. The best chief executives and best CEOs know how to delegate, and hopefully he knows how to do that. Again, whether or not that actually does come to fruition, I've got my sort of skeptical opinions about it, but it would appear that people are being put in the right positions to be the most effective at Manchester United, because what we've been doing for a decade hasn't been working. And if you continue like that, the slide's just going to continue. So hearing stuff about Mitchell and hopefully Rangnick, who's being more and more bold in some of the things that he's saying recently, as if he's almost kind of pushing those at Manchester United to be like, hey, you should keep me around more than 6 days a month because I've got a lot to offer. My record speaks for itself. Got me in as an interim manager. I'm way better as a sporting director. I should be kept around. Look at the players I've bought in the past.
Yes, it's primary job.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That would be my hope. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But Paul Mitchell is a step in the right direction if we get there.
Sumyar says, hopefully Ten Hag will develop players, as Ajax fans said. Yeah, we heard a lot about that yesterday from the We Talk Ajax guys. And Kai, big up Kai, says, Rashford's contract will expire next year. We need coaches who will realise the difference between one-hit wonder youngsters like Rashi and youngsters with actual potential. We should have sold him years ago for good money. So definitely thinking that Rashford's reached his ceiling now. I think it's safe to say from Kai. There were some reports, Cam, kind of lastly, I'll get you guys' thoughts on this, that, some of the players are still umming and ahhing about Ten Hag's appointment and still not sure and stuff like that. And there's also some reports from Ten Hag, I know Owen probably got it in front of him, but about how he's going to conduct some Zoom interviews individually with all different players to give them a fresh slate and, maybe pick the captain that way. What do you make of the players' reaction or lack of or over-talking or whatever, whether you believe it or not? What do you make of that?
I think it's embarrassing, really, and it's even more embarrassing probably that we know about that because that sort of stuff should not be getting leaked, especially if they're not sort of reacting positively. I think the ones that are throwing their toys out the pram are the ones that have got to go, to be honest. I think whoever that is in the squad, and I think myself and probably a lot of others are at a point now where there's not a single player in that squad who, if they didn't want to play for Erik Ten Hag, I wouldn't have any problem with them leaving. So I think that's where we're at now, where if they don't want to play for the manager, go. There's so many other football clubs in the world. You can go and play somewhere else where you're actually wanted. Because right now, this lot, if they don't want to, if they're not interested, if they don't think Ten Hag's good enough, I mean, some of them are saying that they don't know if Ten Hag's got the credentials to manage a group. The group shouldn't be difficult to manage if everyone's trying to pull in the same direction. The reason that group might be difficult to manage is because of those individuals that have the problem. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's all stupid. And I think the Zoom interview stuff, I mean, okay, fine to get to know the players, but I think it's a tough one because obviously at United, everything you do is under so much scrutiny. So as soon as they set off on tour for the summer, I think in some ways that's probably pre-season tour is the time for Ten Hag to actually decide on his captain. But he's going to he's maybe almost have to have had that done before so that he can go on tour knowing who
and
it
the
is.
captain, 100%, yeah,
exactly. So that you don't end up with the situation you mentioned earlier.
Marcel.
It's a good thing that, well, not in particular that the players don't want Ten Hag to come, but it's a good thing that, at the end of the day, players, if they don't agree with the manager, they got to go. Player FC should be dead now. Next season, the whole Player FC thing, supporting players, it needs to go now. We need to all back Ten Hag. He's a manager that believes in the system and the team, playing together as a team. So if anyone doesn't want to be part of that, they have to go. Even the best players or people that find that, that's their particular favorite player, they have to go. These players have been cowards. They've put managers under the bus plenty of times before. So we can't prioritize them. The structure of the club has been doing that for a long time now in terms of marketing and all that kind of thing. It's put players before the manager. At the end of the day, the biggest clubs, their superstar or their main man is the manager. And that's how that's the kind of trajectory that we need to be going under. And I think Ten Hag's a serious man. He looks like somebody that's very serious and he wants to be the head of the house. And we need to give him that power and that belief as fans that, we are backing what he's going to do going forward.
It was definitely part of his demands to come here, wasn't it? All of this power that he needs. Kyle says, We Talk Ajax said Erik Ten Hag makes wingers 10s or the other way. Should we look at a free for Dybala and Isco, considering Paul Pogba and Lingard are leaving for free? It just depends how Erik Ten Hag wants to play. I mean, we can all have I think with this, it's such a clean slate. I'm like, whatever he wants to do, I'll just get behind and observe. I'm not going to be like, I think we should get this person's going to be perfect. I'm done with all that. I'm done. Honestly, I just want to see Erik Ten Hag come here, put his philosophy down. Let me have a look at it for myself, make my own conclusions after 6 weeks of play, 2 months, whatever it is. And I can see what we're clearly trying to do. Then you can maybe go, he'd be really good. He'd be really good. Because I just want to see it be as seamless as the We Talk Ajax guys made it sound, in terms of you will clearly see what he wants to do and how. One thing is doing it in your league with Ajax, and I know what we're getting, but I'm so, I don't know, emotionally scarred from this team. I'm like, I just can't envisage us just doing great things where we're like, wow, and did you see Did you see Sancho, what he was doing? Did you see how Marcus Rashford was? What a difference. I want to say them things, but I'm still very, very skeptical. And David G says, Ralph has to be the reason they are restructuring based on his knowledge and ideas. If he is not behind this restructure, then who the hell is behind this? Well, yeah, that's interesting to see, where that's coming from, because all of a sudden Man United are clearly going in a different direction. To finish off, Owen, you get the last say. Are you looking forward to... Well, sorry, no, that's not the question I want to ask you. Do you see it as the players have had enough say? It shouldn't be going on for what they think.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, even when we saw that report a couple of weeks ago, when it was like the players haven't been consulted on who the new manager is, they shouldn't be consulted. It's none of their business. That's not their job. Their job's to play football on the pitch, not pick their manager. It doesn't work like that. So if anything, when I see that kind of stuff, I laugh a little bit. We're a bit underwhelmed by the manager, or we're not sure. Who did you want? Like, how good do you think you are? Basically, what do you think that we should be going after, Pep or Klopp? We should be getting like the best two managers in the world, because Manchester United have the best players in the world. Have a reality check. The reason we're going for yet another manager is because yet again the players have failed. So again, I mentioned it when it came to Rashford earlier. Accountability, absolute accountability. If I'm a player, all I care about is when the manager comes in, right, I want to impress him, I want to play, and I want to achieve more. It doesn't really matter who they are. And again, that's not my call. That is not my decision to make if I'm a player. So with all that kind of stuff, I just think it's ridiculous. And if they think that they deserve to be part of that conversation, that part of that process, then they really shouldn't be at the club, because the ego's far, far inflated. Absolutely far inflated if you think that you should be in that conversation. And maybe that stems from being part of that conversation before. And once they've overstepped that line in the past, they think they should be part of it every single time. But that's wrong. That just football does not work like that. And I'm sure when Ten Hag comes in, if some of these reports and clips are true when it comes to the way he talks to players and his kind of attitude and professionalism, some players won't like it. And guess what? If they don't like it, as Marcel said, they can leave, because there's just no time for it anymore. There isn't. And when it comes to the captaincy being decided by Zoom or whatever, I think, like Cam said, ideally that'll be sorted in pre-season. But even that, the decision maybe to get rid of Maguire as the captain might be an easy one. But in terms of who the replacement would be, that's a difficult decision to make, because there aren't a ton of maybe super credible options that we would think. So,
and everyone wants De Gea gone, so it can't be him.
No, that's just one of the that's just one of the tasks that Erik Ten Hag has in front of him.
Marcel will lose his mind if David De Gea is made captain next year for a year, settle things down. Cam would as well. Imagine that. Imagine David De Gea getting captaincy, boys. Who'd you rather the captain for next year, Harry Maguire or David De Gea?
Go on, you go first, Cam. You go first, Cam.
No. Why are you shifting? Wait there. Who would you rather be captain for next year? Because let's assume they're both going to be here. Yeah. Who would you rather captain Man United next year, David De Gea or Harry Maguire?
They both don't talk. They both don't communicate.
So who would you rather?
David De Gea.
Why?
Because he's won the Premier League with us. I think Maguire's won the Premier League, but he's won the Premier League with us. And I think he does care about the club a lot more than Maguire does, if I'm honest. And Maguire's been through a lot, and he's not confident on the ball, and he's way worse than David De Gea, like you were saying.
Cam? What, did you just say Maguire won the Premier League?
I think with Leicester, no?
No, he wasn't there.
No. Oh, well then, no.
Maguire's got more relegations than anything else, mate.
I mean, if he had won the league with Leicester, we would be continuing to hear about it.
Jeez, it would have been 100 million. It would have been 100 million. You get a Premier League winner.
Yeah.
He needs to go anyway.
Yeah. Cam?
Scott McTominay.
On that note, guys, thanks for watching. Wicked show. Great topics. We said there was a lot to talk about. We didn't even get through all the topics, to be honest with you. That David De Gea one really took us into a different place, which is good. That's what the community is about. Everyone with loads of different opinions. No one's shutting down anybody. Everyone just doing it in the right way, and that's what it is here. Big up to you, big up to yourselves. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're not new. Flex and KG show tomorrow, live 6 p.m. as well. So make sure you guys check that out. Remember, you're going to get your daily dose at 6 p.m. on the United View. If not that, then 7. But yeah, usually 6. So we're going to start getting familiar with that. Since we've hit 100K, it's been absolutely amazing. Community's growing. Everything's growing. you guys are enjoying the studio stuff. You're enjoying this kind of stuff. And we got so much more surprises coming for you guys as well. So anyway, we are out of here, guys. Peace.